The pros and cons of both viewer and contestant voting in object shows. I've got 4 pros and 4 cons of each. So, yeah. This was originally going to be a short, but then it took too long, so I'm making it a proper video, where I can go into a bit more detail. So, we'll start with the viewer voting. So, the pros of viewer voting include fan engagement. Obviously, because if the fans get to vote, then they're going to be engaged in the story because they have direct control over how it goes. Community building. There's potential to build to build camaraderie amongst the fans who both like or dislike a certain character, or just community building in general where the community feels more connected to the story. And there's more people in said community. Potentially increased viewership. That's a nice little tie-in there. People like stuff that they can control, and I don't think that BFDI would be as big as it is if it was a contestant vote. I could say that in earnest. Even though, I'm not the biggest fan of
viewer
voting, but I can admit that that's something that it has really succeeded from. And finally, more people are likely to be happy with who wins. Because if the contestant, let's say come finale, you've got 2 finalists, or even 3. If a lot of people vote, for example, you saw the voting chart for the BFDI finale, that's a lot of people who voted for Fiery, and a lot of people who voted for Flower. So clearly a lot of people were happy with Flower and Fiery winning. But more people are likely to be happy with who wins. Cons. There's room for bias from both the creators and the viewers. If the creators wanted to tell a certain story, but they might paint one character in a really, really good light and one character in a not a bad light, but just not a good light. In a neutral light, which might influence the viewers to keep one character over another. I know BFB was highly criticized for that. Whether or not it was true, I don't know. But there's also potential for bias from the viewers who are trying to get other people to vote a certain way. That's always going to happen. There's limitations on the ability to tell the exact story that the writers want to tell. For example, let's say you've got one character who's super central to the plot, and one character who's less central to the plot, but the character who's less central makes it further and keeps surviving eliminations, but the character who is more important gets closer and closer to elimination and then eventually gets eliminated. That's not good. Now you need to quickly do something. I had to do this with Object Idiocy Season 2, a character who was going to be pretty important to the plot got eliminated fairly early, and I had to adjust. The third con in viewer voting is potential for exploitation. The thing about the potential for exploitation is, that's the biggest example that I can think of is when Teardrop got eliminated in BFDIA. I don't know who it was, but someone was told their fan base, hey, dislike Teardrop's video, and then Teardrop got eliminated. And then the final con is voting wars. I'm considering this a con because I don't think voting wars are good for the community. Boy, voting wars, they sure are something. I never really got involved in them, but yeah, they were definitely not super helpful, and I think only made the community more toxic. The that's super fun, because a lot of the time with viewer voting, that's a semi-con for viewer voting, like, I kind of know every time, but like, when, spoilers, when someone got eliminated from Inanimate Insanity Invitational, I was in episode 4, I was very shocked, because I wasn't expecting it, and it was an intense elimination. Okay, moving on to the cons. Bias from the creators. Let's say there's a character that the creators really like, they might keep, or one that the writers really hate, they might get rid of early. I know I've been guilty of this in the past, and you know, it's a mistake I've made, and it's a mistake I'm working on. I need to think about what the characters would do, not what I would do. Yeah, and it's a thing that a lot of writers of object shows need to work on. Second, risk of predictability. That's like, oh, if every character votes in the same way every episode, it's kind of easy to tell how everyone is gonna place roughly, you know, and that's no fun. That's not fun. 3, lack of viewer satisfaction. Maybe a very popular character gets eliminated early, or a very unpopular character makes it very far. That's a big problem. Maybe an unpopular character wins, for example. I don't know. That's a lack of viewer satisfaction, where the viewers aren't happy with how the season plays out. That can be a problem. But can also be a problem with viewer voting, because, you know. But it's probably less of a problem with viewer voting. And this one kind of just covers all the bases. Potential for stupid writing. The writers don't really think about it too deeply or too hard, and they're just like, okay, I'll get rid of this guy now. Even if in the terms of the contest, that's not likely to be how it is. You know, you're not likely to have it so that, like, hold on, give me a second to explain what I'm trying to say. Characters would do stuff that they wouldn't do for the sake of driving the plot, instead of doing stuff that they would do and then basing the plot around what they would do. There we go. So yeah, those are the pros and cons of both viewer and contestant voting in object shows. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, or alternatively, don't do any of those things and leave now! There's the door, buddy! Literally, there's a door right there!